Welcome to the Wish Alliance Conscious Awakening Series. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and during this entire month, it is my privilege to bring up and to spotlight for everyone my co-host for the month, Ms. Rebecca. And so I'm going to be reading Rebecca's bio in just a little bit, and then Rebecca is going to go ahead and introduce our speakers for the evening, Cindy Robinson and Doug Scott. And so we'll get started here with that in just a few moments. But before we do, always I want to say thank you to Portal to Ascension and New Realities for all the replays of our shows. We really appreciate it. Also to Bridget Renee Holiday with Awaken Ascending and all of the Clubhouse family. We thank you so much to all of our viewers and to everyone who's here with us tonight. But even before I introduce Rebecca, I'm going to go ahead and ask Susie if she would go ahead and come on up, because Susie, you look so lovely tonight.
Aww.
And if you'll go ahead and let us know what you're going to play, and maybe even adorn us with 2 songs tonight.
Well, I tell you, there's 3, so that'll be really cool.
Woohoo!
Because I couldn't decide. Now, this one is from The Prince of Egypt, which is Moses. It's a Disney. I turn to Disney a lot. Many nights we prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles as we believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles we can achieve when we believe? Somehow we will. We will as we believe. In this time of fear, when prayer so often seems in vain, hope seems like a summer bird too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here, my heart's so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I barely thought I'd say. There can be miracles when we believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles we can achieve when we believe? Somehow we will. We will as we believe. They don't always happen when we ask, and it's easy to give in to our fear. But when blinded by our pain, can't see our way safe through the rain, the thought of a still resilient voice says love is very near. There can be miracles when we believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles we can achieve when we believe? Somehow we will. Now we will. We will as we believe. We will as we believe.
Beautiful.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Would you like to do another one?
I would. I really would. Especially because I did a boo-boo. Did you hear that? When I was playing at the old folks' home, I played it a lot of those, but when Mom and Dad were going, I'd make a mistake and I'd say shit or something like that, you know. And everybody'd look up, so I learned that if I don't say that, most of the people won't know. Too bad.
That's true. Most people don't know.
Okay. Oh, God, no, 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 no. Wow, that would have been fun. Okay. This is just, everybody knows and loves this song, but it's just so apropos, and I don't know who wrote it. Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leads your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless blowing feet. Some say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes a chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been so lonely and the road been so long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Susie.
I love
I always appreciate your showing up for us week after week. Thank you so much. So what I'd like to do now is to go ahead and I want to bring Rebecca up and I want to give her more of a formal introduction. I've known Rebecca for several years. Gosh, I don't know how many years, quite a few. And she always amazes me. Every time you turn around, she's got something new popping. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with me tonight. So Rebecca is a leading expert in exoconsciousness and ET contact. As a futurist, coach, author, and founder of the IXO, the Institute for Exoconsciousness. And I'm going to have you to tell everyone a little bit about exoconsciousness in just a moment. She is a lifelong contactee, and she's written several books. And so what I'd like to do is to have you to really elaborate a little bit about your bio. I can sit here and read it, but let's hear it from you and talk a little bit, maybe hit some of the highlights of your books so people know a little bit about who you are and the phenomenal work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and hello to your doggy.
Oh, Willow, he's with us every week.
And thanks, Susie. That was beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been, like Sheila, I've been in this field a long time, and we're kind of veterans in this field and experiencers. And my most recent book actually was about artificial intelligence and transhumanism, and how exoconscious humans or exoconsciousness or cosmic consciousness can weave its way through a lot of the thicket of transhumanism as a path to go forward. I worked for 6 years with Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell in Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, he got ill and passed away. And during that time, while I was still in D.C., I'm in Phoenix now, I started getting this information dropped on my head about transhumanism and about genetic engineering, geoengineering, social engineering, which is another word, a nice word for mind control. And so I just did a deep dive into that and started writing about it and juxtaposed that to a more spiritual consciousness path of exoconsciousness that we could take instead. Not that we're going to abandon computers or any kind of technology that we need to use, but that it's always a tool, that it's always going to be a default for us. So in the past, actually 4 months, I put together a group called Exoconscious Coaching, an exoconscious coaching group, and exoconsciousness is the innate, so we believe that every individual on the face of the earth has the innate ability to contact, communicate, and co-create with extraterrestrials and multidimensionals. So as everyone on this call is familiar with. So what I did was put together a 16-week interactive program where a very small group, 8 to 10 people, could meet weekly for 16 weeks and talk about their contact. So the first 4 weeks was just about contact. We got to know each other. We got very transparent with each other. We talked about, some of us are childhood experiencers. Some of it came through an accident. Some of it came through a later in life kind of experience. So we shared that and built a trusted community around sharing our contact. And then the second 4 weeks, we talked about discernment, how we discern these different energies that we're around, the different beings that we're around. So we talked about discernment and psychic intelligence, how we use our different types of psychic intelligence. Then the third 4 weeks, we talked in depth about transformation, and we spoke about how we were physically transformed and spiritually and emotionally transformed through our contact, and also dipped into, which ended up being one of the most exciting sessions that we had. There was so much energy bubbling up. We spoke about the planetary changes and transformations that we're living through as experiencers. And now the last 4 weeks, we're going to be speaking about co-creation. So when Sheila asked me to come and bring my group in for these next, actually that's 5 weeks in August, it was so thrilling for me because as we've moved through these 12, and now it will be 16 weeks after we finish this last part, we all have been thinking about how are we refining what our mission is as a result of being together in this community? How has these conversations, this information, how has that changed all of us? And so when Sheila reached out to me, I was just thrilled. So I reached out to the group, and everyone in the group, I believe, is going to participate in this just about. So it's going to be really exciting, and they can maybe tell a little bit what they've done with the group. But just wanted to say briefly that I'm opening up a new session in September. So that's going to run September through December for another group exoconscious coaching session. And the group that you'll meet on these Mondays will be the alumni for the group that's coming up. And we meet on a private network. We have a mighty network. So we meet on the private network and we share a lot of information in a social media platform. So thanks for having us. Would you like me to go ahead and kind of introduce who the people are today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's a thrill to have Cindy Robinson with us tonight. Cindy and I go into the Wayback Machine. Cindy and I were in one of the longest running experiencer groups in the nation that was run by Dr. Ruth Hover in Fountain Hills, Arizona. And Cindy and I got to know one another and attended these sessions in the mid 90s. So there were hardly even any groups around at that point. So we've been good friends. She's a intensive care unit nurse. She's also an inventor. She's invented a medical device, and she's a very long from childhood experiencer. So I'm excited to have Cindy. And should I go ahead and introduce Doug?
Please, sure.
Okay.
And Cindy, I'm just going to leave you up here.
Okay. And Doug Scott, he's the one that says user.
Okay.
So Doug, can you turn your camera on? And yeah, there he comes. Hi, Doug. So Doug is with us from Australia, and Doug has had some phenomenal experiences, not only in Australia, but also in the United States. He was part of the UFO community in Montana with Joan Bird, Joan Bird's UFO community there, and will bring us information about that. And also, Doug's a poet, and it's always enlightening when he comes to the group and brings us his grounded Aussie information to us. So that's who is with us today. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Hi. So now, is someone going to go first? Do you have a particular format that you're wanting to follow?
Cindy, why don't you go ahead and go first? That would be okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Shut up.
Hey, Doug, would you mute your mic?
Oh, sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Thank you.
Now,
I got it.
Okay, so as Rebecca explained, I should clarify, I'm a retired ICU nurse. So long career in open heart, that was my love, although I did almost everything over 34 plus years. But it was interesting. While in that career, you know, I worked nights, so I had frequent on breaks. We'd go out and do sky watches and stuff like that. My experience with mostly grays, but I've had encounters with lots of ETs, and it goes back even to my mother, my father, my mom's father, grandfather, and I was really close with him. But lots of experiences. And then I have 5 children and then 8 grandchildren and a couple of great grandchildren. And the whole ET thing has traveled down through generations, including all of my kids. You know, they're wrapped up in their careers. So of course, you know, they're still always concerned about the stigma that's associated with that. And so I get that. And so they pretty much said they don't care, you know, if I'm out there publicly or whatever. So that was a good thing for me. I lost my husband in 2020. We were married for 54 years. And so I was lucky enough to have a husband that experienced a lot of those ET contacts with me. And in fact, we were only married for 7 weeks. And we were out on a country road in Wisconsin. That's where I'm originally from, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And on a Friday night, we were going out to see his brother. But ultimately, there was a nice big UFO sitting the distance between 2 telephone poles, and then just hovering right above that wire. There was no sound. John had pulled over, and we were watching it out his driver's side window. And we didn't realize till many years later that we had time missing for what they call But ultimately, we were missing like an hour and 15 minutes of our time. And then many, many years later, like 10 years later, I'll skip ahead because it's a long history. But ultimately, in 1967, you didn't talk about UFOs, ETs, because they would like throw you in a mental institution. And even as a child, I tried to tell, my parents, my mom would just, roll her eyes and she's going, you have a really good imagination. But she had encounters with my husband in Arizona in the car. And still, even after that, she absolutely refused to talk about it. Not allowed. And so, when my mom died, she never ever revealed anything. But it was interesting. My dad, when he was in the World War II in the Navy, and he was always quiet when I try to talk about all this. And on his deathbed, he finally said, Cindy, he goes, I need to tell you that I saw those flying saucers all the time when I was in the Navy on the ship. And especially because on their ship, they were supposed to observe when they did the atomic bomb. And he didn't. He turned around, even though they were ordered to watch. And a lot of his sailor friends died from all kinds of cancers and stuff. But on his deathbed, finally, he admitted. So even though I didn't know until then that my dad was a whole part of this, I was always trying to put the pieces together. It's always an evolving puzzle. And then when it started with all of our kids, I'm not joking, from the time they were babies on, it was activity. Same thing as with the grandchildren. So those spouses had to, they had a visitation, and so that they wouldn't get scared. I mean, they literally had to be open-minded enough to admit that, well, something's going on. So as a nurse, I'll skip ahead, way ahead now. As a nurse, I ended up with an injury. I had a torn meniscus in my knee. And that was in 2008. And I ended up with a wrong side surgery. I woke up out of anesthesia, even though the leg was marked, everything by the surgeon. And so they did surgery on the wrong knee. And I couldn't believe it. And so when I'm talking about brainstorming with ETs, that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm hoping people will learn and understand what I'm getting at, because many times when things are happening, we're not looking at it from a different perspective. And so ultimately, they had to take me back into surgery a few hours later and do the surgery on the correct knee. But ultimately, it impaired my walking and standing. And I never fully recovered. And I was never able to stand long enough then to continue practicing. So even though I had advanced in my degrees, then I went into management and ultimately healthcare coaching. And during that whole 8 years, so from 2008 to 2016, I mean, the minute I came out of surgery, the minute they took me back in there, and I'm looking on the wall, trying to figure out how this could have happened. Like, where's the whiteboard saying what they're doing for the day? And I know as a nurse, they're supposed to be doing a universal protocol where they ultimately, say between all the staff and surgeon and anesthesiologist what they're doing. But they don't always do. And on that day, they did a shortcut. They didn't do it all. They had to admit that. And thus the reason. I mean, the surgeon tried blaming, the nurse that scrubbed, and said that that nurse scrubbed off his marking with the purple pen. Well, I said, no, that didn't happen. My husband was scrubbing that purple marker off for 3 days after my surgery. And I said, I know that marker is permanent. And so when I start brainstorming, I always have my notebooks. I date everything, and I write down everything. I know a lot of people use computers to write. As I advanced my degrees, I did lots of papers, research, all kinds of stuff. And I always have to do it the old-fashioned way, paper and pen, and write down all your thoughts and then construct things from that. And I didn't realize till many years later, after I had developed this software, which ended up being hands-free, went through 3 years of beta testing, and the 2 surgical centers and hospital down in Florida, they didn't even come close to a near miss, is what they call, using my product. But it was interesting. Nobody wanted to buy it. And I made it affordable, right? And they could also make revenue on it by colored drapes, right? And so ultimately, make a long story short, lots of struggles getting out there and everything. I got shut down by a governmental body under the Obama administration. And I was stunned that they called my product, my software, too futuristic. And so they deemed it alien technology. And as soon as I heard that term, I'm going, what? Alien technology, nobody's even heard of that term. But ultimately, with that, my daughter-in-law worked for the software engineer that I worked with, I partnered with. And, when I told her what was going on, I said, how can they say that it's alien technology, too futuristic? And I said, we're already going forward in futuristic things in medicine, so it doesn't make any sense. And I said, what I'm thinking as soon as they use that term, alien technology. And I said, are they using it because, Pranam is from India and he has a dual citizenship and he has his own company in the States and in India? But she said, no. And I said, well, he's the one that developed this. I didn't. And she said, Cindy, she goes, you developed it. You told Pranam how to make this. And so I wasn't willing to accept that somehow, even though I'm not a computer wizard, somehow I had created this software, knew how to do, I didn't technically write the algorithms, but I knew what they were and so forth. And so when ETs are working through us, it can be ETs, it can be spiritual beings, whatever you feel is working with you, you'll know it internally. And so often, when you write things down and you go back and look at it, there were papers I wrote and I'm going, did I really write that? And so you're kind of actually maybe working in a trance, maybe channeling. I don't channel. But I'm thinking maybe that's some kind of a form of communication that the ETs work through us to get things out there. And I mean, you know, I'm certified in the alternatives, have been for many, many years. And so I also know that we also have the opportunity that when we put things out into the universe, there's many people that will grab that same idea, but there's only a few that will actually go forth and develop something from it. So as far as brainstorming with the ETs, I'm sure if I get enough people to open their minds to realize that we all have a mission and that mission can change. And so ultimately, because of that mission, they're trying to guide us. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I'm hoping, since I've been working with Rebecca, she knows what I've gone through with the development and then the shutdown of all of this, you know, and she said, well, Cindy, she goes, maybe the universe will open up again. And she goes, just put it out there and see what happens, you know. And so I did. I talked to my kids because my kids put money into all of this. And we put everything that we owned into it. That was our full retirement, everything, to the tune of like $250,000. And I felt bad. I felt like a failure when it didn't get out there all the way. And so when I got shut down, I mean, the IRS, literally, I had to close the doors on my LLC and everything, and S Corp. So I did all that, but I was smart enough when I developed all of this that I own all my patents, even though Pranam wrote the algorithms for the software and everything. He signed off because he knew that I had told him what to develop. So he signed off any ownership on that. And so at least legally, you know, if I start this all up again in the future, because gee whiz, now look at what we're into: facial technology, speech technology. You know, it's amazing how just over the 4 years since I've been shut down, how much further we are in the medical arena with technology. So I'm never going to give up. You know, I'm 73, so I'm going to do this till the day I die. So if it's successful, great. If not, then there's another reason why this has to be out there. So I'm still always open, even as we work in Rebecca's group, and we have questions that we work on every week. In that growth, I've known already that I'm being guided again. So when I write everything down in my notebook, and then, you know, I'll let a few days go by before I prepare for our meeting and write my stuff down. But then it's interesting because Rebecca will back this up. In our groups, when we're discussing all these questions, it's very interesting how many of us will say, whoa, that fits. That's exactly what's happened to me. So those triggers of contact, I think, are working through our group again. So it's been many years since we've had that interaction with everyone. And I'm hoping finally, you know, we're there again after all these years. It kind of gives you a comfortable feeling knowing that you can talk about anything with everyone and not be judged, hopefully. If they judge you, well, that's on them. But it's a way to grow then as a person in our missions, that we have something else where it's not quite done. We're reaching for goals that we may not even know what those goals are, but we'll know it as we get closer because we feel it with frequency, vibrations, internally, in your mind, you're working on something, or you can't quite get, what it is. And then all of a sudden, somebody in the group will say something and it'll hit, it'll resonate. So, as time goes on now, with everything changing, we're all into the technology. I'm also working on with the whole COVID spike protein. I was always certified in the biohazard stuff. And so I'm bound determined that with this whole frequency vibration sequence, that I need to develop something to stop the damage in our bodies that are being caused by the nanoparticles from the vaccines. People can get vaccines, that's up to you. We all had COVID, my entire family, but my kids still went and got vaccines. I still chose not to. And luckily, they didn't vaccinate the three youngest, which are grandchildren, which are 10, 11, and 12. Because I really believe that things are going to happen down the road with these nanoparticles. They're going to overload our immune system. So that's my next project. And any questions?
Oh, I have a question for you real quick. Could you describe a little bit more without going into great detail, but talk a little bit more about the software and why you think that they wanted to shut you down?
I did find out, we kept being told, as we did presentations for a lot of the big healthcare conglomerates. And some of the administrators finally admitted to us that and it still is going on today. So is anyone familiar? So when you get a procedure done, surgery, even a chest x-ray, anything, lab work, it all comes down to reimbursement through your insurance carrier. And they charge through what's called T codes. Okay. And so those T codes are assigned. Now we're up to ICD, 12. And there's like 60,000 different T codes out there. And so what they do is they're getting reimbursed for mistakes because they've done wrong brain surgeries. They've done wrong limb, taken off the wrong limbs, removed the wrong organs. And most people don't hear about that unless the case makes CNN, which is very rare. They keep it covered up. And that was the reason why I wanted to do this. It was to protect people. But in essence, I was being naive. I developed it so that it protected the patient, but it also protected all of the staff in the hospital, and the surgeon. You would think that, when they get sued, it goes against their malpractice, but they don't care. They're still making money on those errors because they're getting reimbursed and getting paid for both. And even though I contacted the insurance industry and commissioners, they won't change. So has everyone heard of like big pharma? If you go up against the big boys, right? Literally they will stomp on you. And, I was told many times I'm stepping on toes. I didn't care. I was bound determined I was going to make this work and start protecting the patients. And it was about time that somebody does it. And so Obama was part of this shutdown. So ultimately, he threatened my software partner, and he wouldn't admit it to me, but I confronted him with it. I know what's going on, right? And the way it's developed, I need his back office to run it. And so he shelved it. And within 4 months of him shelving my project, right, he was rewarded with a government contract, millions, worth millions and millions of dollars, for his own healthcare software. And he does, electronic medical records platforms, things like that. And he's out there, very successful. But for me, I knew instinctively that there's no way he got that contract all on his own, because I was too involved in his business to know that they weren't even working with those big, like military and government labs. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I believe, karma hits somewhere along the line. But, I was hoping that when Trump got in there that I would have a chance. So I kind of like hung in there. But Trump was so inundated with the coup and everything that was going on behind the scenes. Whether you were, you liked Trump or you didn't like Trump, I liked Trump because he seemed to be going after the big boys. But I think that's where he made his mistake. He underestimated how corrupt everything really is. So, that's a personal experience for me. When I was being approached to be acquired by two big companies for that software, and suddenly their executives cut everything off, and then 2 of them came to me and said, "Cindy, we don't know what's going on." And they go, "We don't know what you're involved in, but we literally were threatened by some higher ups that we're not allowed to do business with you." So
Wow.
I guess what I created is so threatening, but it doesn't make sense to me as a nurse, as a patient. It doesn't make sense to me that, you wouldn't want to protect the patients you work on, or your license. It's crazy to think of it. But, with COVID and the corrupt healthcare stuff that was going on, I was hoping that we'd get somewhere with that. But as soon as we had another election, I'm going, nope, we're literally screwed. So I don't know where it's all going to end. I'm hoping, things will turn around maybe again for 2024. We'll see. But, I can get intimidated to a certain point, but it takes a lot. And
Well,
the part of
thank you.
that is because the ETs made me so strong, because I always had to fight, for my credibility.
Right.
With having the experience with UFOs and ETs and stuff. And it's like, my kids can even vouch for me. There were many times I get what looked like FBI guys, right, knocking on my door, ringing my doorbell, telling me to keep my mouth shut, because I would reveal things because I'm not afraid. And then as time went on, I figured out how to walk the gray line. I can reveal stuff to a certain degree without, I guess, being too threatening by them, whatever. But like I said, you know, at 73, what are they going to do if they try killing me? Everybody's going to know it. So we'll see how that works.
Thanks for that, Cindy. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. This is like what our group is like. These are the kind of people that we have in our group. And we're really all about moving those contributions out into the world that we experiencers have. But go ahead, Sheila.
Right. Great. Well, thank you so much. And Cindy, I'm sure we're going to have some questions for you in just a moment. Do you want to go ahead and bring Doug up now?
Yeah, Doug. Hi, Doug.
You want to unmute?
Yeah, I do.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thanks, Cindy. Like you just said, our group, we get to know each other better each time we say something. And thank you. Yeah. Talk about my qualifications to even say anything to any of you. Yeah. It's very interesting because I look at my life experience as a child and being surrounded by patriarchal, atheistic males, and yet they're my bloody relatives, and I gotta love them, and I know that, and I've got to respect my ancestors for whatever, and yet, what is my purpose? You know, I just hung up from Rion before I'm on this call. Rion's in Sedona. What's it called? John Bud sent me a link. I'll send it to you, Rebecca. Morning Coffee with Rion. He's a crack up, but he's also on the same page as we are. He's a manifester. Maybe he's one of them master manifestors. And Sheila, thank you for your book. And I think Walk-ins, I think one of the stories in that book says, you know, if you're not a master manifester, you wouldn't be here. And all that, and what I hear recently, you know, radical human beings, and they say all human beings are radical. But maybe it takes a bit to get some people into radical mode. And so I don't know what else to kind of focus on. I didn't rehearse anything. I'm not good at that. I've been raving on in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous for many years. So I have a bit of a gift of sprouting on. Doesn't have to make sense. Spent time in this UFO mag place in Montana, which is built in memory of the deception, I suppose, that happened at Roswell, and the people that built it were descendants of the people that picked up the scraps at the Roswell incident. But it's all affected me so deeply, and I was married in Montana to a lady, and I think what happened in a way, it's a bit of my history, but it's relevant. But we went to a workshop in Bozeman one time, and it was a lady called Kathy Forty, and she wrote a book called Fractals of God. And that stuff, all that stuff's always fascinated me. And she did a workshop. We went over, my wife and I think that's something where I got a clue that my wife was on a different page. All this stuff. And then I started taking myself to the UFO Museum before I lived there. And I'd go up in the cold, you know, and I'd leave another meeting and go up there. Then I'd come back. And anyway, all I'm saying is things have happened, and people get close to me and they think, oh, this guy's off with a bloody fairies. He's talking to UFOs, or he's talking to people that have contact. And, you know, he must be weird, or he's too weird to be around. So I dealt with a lot of that stuff. Too weird. And someone told me years ago, weird's better than boring. So I'm hanging on to that too. Not sure what else to focus on. Medicine's been mentioned a lot by Cindy, and I've had a distrust of medicine and the male energy in medicine. I've had a distrust of that for 50 years. I've had to conform a bit, but not much. And excuse me, Cindy mentioned vax. I've got grandkids that don't want to be vaxxed, and they haven't been yet, similar age to your grandkids, Cindy. And they're in West Australia. It's a long way from here, but maybe we're going to get to see them. That's one of my passions today. I'm so touched by some of the things I hear from you people that have contact and experience in every area, including health. I want to try and transmit a little bit to my grandkids as a grandpa, you know. I don't want them to get their parents' message because their parents' message is so colored. One of my boys in the Air Force, military, and all the information they're probably feeding their kids is colored by the established stuff. So yeah, that's one of my passions. If I'm learning stuff with you people, which I know I am, maybe I can transmit a little bit of it. And you know, things like in America today, 1 in 10 or even more are 1 in 10 kids are diagnosed with ADHD. I've had spoken to and read some of Mary Lovell's books, New Humans, etc. Very revealing, very confronting when I'm thinking of kids I know that have had the labels put on them. So that's part of my passion. And I keep coming back to people like Nelson Mandela that have challenged me to believe in my potential and how we're just scratching it. And the other message I get, you know, we're all gods. All of us are gods. What's a god? Let's get into some deep and meaningful about that. But the potential in me or in us, in humans, is barely touched on. And I think some of what's happening with this extra-conscious and Sheila, the stuff you revealed too in your writing, we're getting jerked into something. And Rion, look up Rion. He's not interested in passivity or staying with the same loop as an either any of us. You know, we're trying to lift into different vibes and different levels of existence. And it's going to be possible. And I just hear hopeful things. And yeah, I got to quote this again, but when the I don't have to go on for time, but wave your hand when you want me to shut up. But when the virus started here in 2020, I think it was in March, whatever, John Bird, who's a mentor of mine in the UFO community in Montana, she sent an email to us and she said I can't remember exact paraphrase, but she said we're human beings are engaging or becoming engaged in the biggest world war we've ever been in. She didn't mention physical wars so much, but she said it's the biggest world war humans have ever been involved in or engaged in. And she said, basically, the summary is it's a battle. We're in this battle, this war or this conflict between good, or what's good and what's evil. And that just stays so true to me. And as someone that's lived pretty crazy life, drinking and all that in my early days and struggling with my own conscience, today I'm feeling happier with myself and feeling a little more in touch with my conscience or my intuition. And so, you know, when something's right and something makes sense or something is hopeful or in a human sense, that's what draws me. And that's what I get from you people. I'm not very good at figuring things out in a mechanistic sense, but I can intuit things and I can be drawn. And yeah, I love that. I love that I can be drawn to things in this context, which is going to maybe help me a bit or help my family, but also the planet.
Hey,
The unselfish.
Doug.
Yeah, hello. Sorry.
Hi, it's Rebecca. Could you maybe give us an example of a contact experience that you had that really transformed you at some point?
Myself personally,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can, Rebecca. I've had experiences when I was drinking and crazy, and I can't be clear about those things. It's more to do with what I think I've been exposed to when I've heard others at this place in Montana. They'd come and share their experiences. Things like all sorts of stuff, so much. But personally, I can't give it to you. A lot of, and as Cindy said, she believes she's been guided. And that's all I can say. The things that are guiding me in every area, it may be in my life today as a fairly mature age guy, I'm guided and I get a sense of that. And so, I can talk a long time about others that have shared their experiences with me, but I can't talk about anything definite because so much of my life, I think I've been struggling with myself and even my own integrity. Yeah, that's about as good as I can do you, Rebecca.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was really great, Doug. Thank you so much. Cindy, let me go ahead and bring you up also. And we're going to have both of you up now. And I want to open up if anyone has any questions or comments that they would like to share with either of our speakers tonight, please feel free to do so now. And if you'll raise your hand, that's always the easiest for me to be able to acknowledge you. Any questions, or does anyone want to share anything with them? Oh, we got several hands up. Okay, Loney, let me go ahead. There you go. Okay, Loney.
Okay.
Unmute. There you go.
Okay. Now, I'm a little afraid to be on camera right now, but we'll go ahead and do this. I guess one of the things that strikes me was the fact that when people start getting close to an answer or something that is not that no one else has ever gotten to, then the material is sometimes stolen and it is taken, and it's like a crash in Roswell. Where did those pieces go? Okay.
Yeah.
So Cindy, do you think that part of the system that you did has been taken and you see pieces or it out there?
Lonnie, as far as when I developed my software for SEPS, SEPS, I knew enough legally to protect myself and the algorithms and so forth, and I patented my idea and a couple of other patents on the development. There's like only 4 steps of it. And then in the product line, and then I didn't get final approval for the actual software algorithm. So I went through, it cost me like $44,000 to go through that process. And that's another whole education, dealing with the government and, on the whole patent thing. That's why your big dollar companies can afford to patent things, because it's, again, I feel it's corrupt. So there's no way that, when you're going for a patent, and it was ironic enough that the patent officer that I was assigned to was Chinese. And so we know that they copy everything. And I kept telling my attorney, because the patent agent, kept wanting us to reveal, every minute detail in the algorithm, which you're not required to for technological software, right? Because that's the reason it's being protected. So you keep key elements. So if anybody else is going to copy it, then essentially, because my system is so easy and I made it easy to use, they would literally have to start from scratch if they were going to try to copy my stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah, but we'll see what happens. So,
Yep. And I have one thing. When you say you receive guidance,
yeah.
Give a couple examples of how, so maybe some guidance you've received and how it's done.
Okay. When I'm writing things down on my notebook, I just write like crazy. And so it almost feels like when you go back and read something, it's like, wow, did I really write that? Like it's knowledge past what you yourself, you're qualified for. So whatever you develop, write, produce, and it's beyond your actual education level, right? Then that is something internal that's guiding you to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but do you not think that with dealing with the the part up to the point where you say you should be limited, do you not think that that has built you and carried you to a point where you can exceed what education has allowed?
I don't know. I'm just speaking from how it works for me. I know I've talked to some people that say the same thing, like when they're working on something and they've developed it or they wrote it down. If you ever watch Shark Tank, that's another, no, okay. So that's another, on TV, there's a show called Shark Tank, and there's investors that invest in ideas, companies, whatever, products. And there were many people when they developed their stuff that they didn't really know. They kind of knew what they were doing, but they often would say, well, I didn't even realize I could even get to this point, without having someone in the field actually be there to develop it. Okay. So that knowledge is coming, whether it's from the universe, from ETs, from paranormal, I don't know. For me, I'm assuming it's my ETs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much. Thanks, Lonnie. Great questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Susie, you have your hand up, my dear.
Yeah, Cindy, well, both of you actually, when you talk about, it seems like anybody that's on any kind of a forefront, I guess I have a question. Is persistence still there for you? Because so many people, you just come up against these things where you just can't, you just get hit and you get hit and you get hit and you get hit. And, at one time that was kind of like a confirmation. Well, we're right on there. But now they're telling us there's this new sun that the sixth sun, we're supposed to grow by being happy and joyful and doing things we like. But there's so much loss. Andrea Perron was talking last week. And almost anybody that's really got something big. Let's face it, in cancer, it's illegal to heal anybody of cancer in the United States of America. I mean, for
Yeah.
God's sake, there's so much of this. I used to work in international law, and it was so corrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, you just had to walk away. So anyway, I guess I don't know. I'm just confirming, and I'm saying, oh my God, what's happened to you? But are you still being persistent? Are you waiting, or do we? I mean,
Yeah, I took a break after I broke the company up. I mean, mentally, I felt broken and disappointed in myself, which, you know, normally I've grown up with the adage or the motto, the philosophy, sink or swim. I'm always a good swimmer. But it really hit me hard. And so I took the time to heal myself internally. And that was just a couple of years. And I went through with just the 2 years. And I was also taking care of my husband during that time. And after he passed away, it was like 6 months afterwards. And I finally started talking to the kids, and I go, you know what? I go, suddenly I don't feel I'm complete anymore. I feel like I got to pursue this again. And I go, are you guys going to be okay with all this? I go, I'm going to go in different directions, wherever it takes me. You know, they knew I was working on the whole frequency thing with COVID and all that. And I got deeply involved with all of that. I have a few people that I'm working with on that, that are contributing. And then, like, out of the blue, people started asking me about SEPs again. And I'm on LinkedIn. And so I thought, well, I talked to Rebecca about it. And I go, am I going to open myself up to heartbreak again? Or she said, essentially, she said, just have faith. The universe is working with you. If it doesn't work out, you've tried. Just keep going, see where you go. So that's what I'm doing. I'm putting my faith. I'm strong spiritually, you know, but I also know that, you know, you're given these opportunities and there's something driving me again with this. So.
Well, I like, am I muted? You know, I like your, I mean, I like the fact that you're okay with it. I mean, you're, in other words, that feels good. And it also feels good that you're, but you also know that it's so valuable and so important what you have, that probably there's going to be some angelic ET, some sort of support help. And we heal, you know, all of the parts in you that, because boy, the pain of this stuff too, the betrayals and I mean, you know, knowing that we have an emotional body and a mental body that's also all jammed up, you know. So, wow, we just heal you as a group. You've just gone, I couldn't even believe, but then I do believe because I hear these stories. My own, you know, stories are hard right now. So we heal you and really hope and pray for the best, because what you've got is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank
I
you,
got that.
Susie. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks for your question, mate. I won't say long. I've got to go to work in a minute. You poor old buggy, you've got to go to work. Just quick look, perseverance is a very interesting question. And coming into AA 20-something years ago, I was hopeless, desperate, suicidal, all the rest of it. And I've been given a spark. I'm just going to call it the divine spark. I'm not going to talk about anyone's God or anything like that. But I've been given something, and I get inspired, and this is maybe a little bit recent, but when I'm not as cranky or as pissed off with human beings, I start to embrace the potential of humans, and they inspire me, and they enthuse me, and they keep me moving. I just want to mention one thing quick. I've got a friend I was going to recommend to join this group, maybe in Rebecca's session in September. And I'll just tell you, she inspires me too. She's a naturopath down southeast of here, and she got arrested a year ago because she was what do you call with medical cannabis. She was prescribing medical cannabis without the correct licenses from the authority figures. You got them over there too. Anyway, they jailed her and then they put her on bail. And the latest thing is they're going to revoke her bail and put her back in jail till the thing's resolved. This woman went to school with my daughter. She's in her 30s. She's got 3 kids, single mom, and they're going to jail her till the thing's resolved. This is the stuff we're dealing with in the police type of state. So this lady is so resilient and so strong. And I'd like to recommend her to get on this group with you people. She'd help us, I think, and we'd help her. But that's what I mean. Humans can inspire me. I can inspire myself when, like Cindy said, I got a face too. And I'm not here to preach it, but I know something's carrying me. Something's led me over many years. I've been through my own set of dramas, and yet there's something in me that inspires me and drives me and leads me and kicks my butt now and again. But it's not a punishing situation anymore. It's coming from love. And in one of Sheila's stories in her book, Force, the ETs, the little bit I pick up about their endeavor to speak or contact humans, there's no force. It's like, when you're ready, we'll help you. And that's the message I've got in our areas. It's not a force thing. It's not a punishing thing. It's when you're ready, we'll help you. And gee, I love that because I come from a long history of punishment and conflict. So thanks for letting me speak. And I probably should go to work soon. And thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, and Rebecca for inviting.
Thank you,
Doug.
Doug.
It's been absolutely
Thank you.
awesome. Now we have 4 more hands up, Gwyneth, and then Stone, Carol, and Venus. So Gwyneth, let's go ahead and bring you up. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciated it. Cindy, thank you for sharing what you're doing, because I'm from that world of healthcare and insurance and that world. And during my work in that particular area of my profession, it was very rare that any of our softwares collected mistakes that were done. We couldn't even pick up mistakes to create workshops to train newcomers. So it is so sorely needed. And I do really encourage you to continue in whichever way you can. So thank you for sharing that. We're sending you good vibes. But the main thing I wanted to ask and maybe throw out there is, perhaps you might have considered this, but looking at this from the perspective of you as being a contactee, and perhaps you're getting some inspirations from benevolent beings, and that information coming through you is somehow flagged in the current system that is running our matrix, because we are currently not exactly relieved of darker ETs that might be controlling some elements of our system. So I'm sure you've considered this, and I'm wondering if there is a way that your ET cosmic brothers and sisters and inspiration could show you a way, or perhaps there is a lesson in there for you. But for me, what I take from that is, whatever you're doing and you sharing this information is already rippling out to inspire us. So perhaps that is the lesson. Perhaps that is one of the lessons. So I would be curious to know if you have thought about, the 2 ET angles, duking it out on the etheric level, but your projects is kind of the hostage in there.
Yeah,
What do you think of that?
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective, but thank you. Maybe I should.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for being with us. I know you have to head to work, so whenever you need to exit, please feel free to.
Yeah, okay,
We
thank you.
loved hearing from you. Thank you so
Oh.
much.
Thank you very much. I'm just a channel right there, so thank you so much. Mhm,
Thank you.
mhm.
And Gwyneth, thank you so much for your comments as well. They
Mhm.
were really beautiful. Thanks. Okay, Stone, where are you? Let me find. There you are. I see you. There we go.
I just want to say thank you to Doug. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate your journey. All right. And have a great day at work. All right. Cindy, I love where you're coming from and the journey that you've done so far. I am a lifelong experiencer myself. I've fought through all the different systems that were put in place. I come from bloodlines, leukemia, cancers, the whole works, all the programs, genetic manipulation, the whole works, right into the now, which is night terrors, which break down into 3 generations of my own, myself, my son, my grandchildren, my other children. We all have different experiences there. On a professional side, I was going to become a midwife because I saw things that others didn't see that were in the room and present waiting. I am also a walker, not just once, but also knowing at least 3 times different, but I also have connections to the other walk-ins that came in, otherwise I wouldn't be able to survive in this vessel. So I used to work in psychology. Because of the information that was coming in, I needed to know what the hell they were saying about me behind my back. Right into the medical, I became a phlebotomist, which is taking bloods. That bored me because there were so many limitations of, patient welfare care, and my own personal care went against my principles of, if someone falls down in front of you, you make sure you see what's going on. But through academia, you don't touch because it's an offense through it didn't fit with me. I went into becoming a lab technician because I wanted to understand what it was for why I couldn't give blood samples when I went to blood banks. I know that I have immunity to tuberculosis. So I was directed through these other influences that came in to work with bloods, biochemistry. I also work with biochemistry in plants. The plants communicate with me. This is huge, mate. This is huge. We all have some form of, this is through when you're a blood technician and you're looking for set A, B, and C's through academia, you also see E, F, and G's, and you ask questions, you get your hands slapped. So I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to you ask the questions. They didn't want to take responsibility because there were too many chiefs and not enough Indians, and didn't know which direction to put you in. And this is a category that works with when we wake up to our own information, and there's enough of it around us, then they turn around and start saying, okay, we need to dumb this one down a bit. We need to put this back in the cage. But once you see it and you're out, that's the fight. If you get past that first fight, which it sounds like you've done, and Doug and Rebecca and so many other great great voices on here. You know, I love this space we're in right now. Because of us and our frequency of information, they're not going to win this time round. We know it's a repeated pattern. So I'm very in appreciation right now for all you speakers and all you guests that come on here, and all of us in the, you know, the backstages, because sharing our information, our frequency, we know when someone else uses our frequency, our information, we know this. And the thing is, whatever you do or say, whatever they do or say, you know that they know that you know where they got it from in the first place. And that, at the end of the day, take away everything else, all the different forms of illusions they've created. When you know your energy signature, and that's what they covet, then there's nobody and nothing that's going to be able to stop you from getting your truth of the information and discoveries that you've found while doing that subject. I hope that makes some sort of sense. So, you know, thank you all. And thank you, Cindy. You put a beehive under my butt.
Thank you.
You know, I knew it was coming yesterday. So thank you everybody. So
Thank you.
Thank you,
don't hobbit
Stephanie.
out.
The great comments. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and bring up Carol. Hi, Carol. Great to see you. You're on mute, honey.
Okay, good to see you too. Thank you, Sheila, for doing this. And okay, and later on I'll ask about Willow. Always ask about Willow.
He's great. He's
See
sound
that?
asleep right now. Thank goodness.
Oh, good to hear. Okay, Cindy. I don't know whether this will help you or not. Or maybe I should ask you, you know, what is it you're looking for, you know, right now to get this out?
Probably, yeah. I guess I'm putting it out into the universe again to see if we can make a success of it this time.
But also out into the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I don't know whether this helped or not, but maybe 4 years ago, there was a friend of mine and she heard from a naturopathic doctor in Switzerland, Dr. Piotr Zanot. He told her about a company that was starting up called On Passive, ONPASSIVE. The guy is Ashmu Farah. He's a graduate of Harvard and MIT. He's a computer whiz. He's got a platform on the web with 100 apps. We have a head office in Orlando, Florida. We have 2 buildings in India with technicians, 800 to 1,000 technicians. And we've just purchased 2 offices in the Burj Khalifa building in Dubai, the tallest structure in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Each one of us, we put in a membership. I wouldn't call it, it's a sort of an investment. But Ash doesn't want to be on the stock market because of the corruption. He doesn't want to go public. He wants to stay as a private company. And his motto is he wants to correct the corruption. Okay, each one of us put in $97 US. And I think the bank charged, when you go online, they charge $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. So it was 102 US, which was about 200 or something Canadian. All right, so
Carol,
we're just about to launch.
Carol, do you want Cindy to put her email address in?
Yeah.
So that you can get that and send her more information.
Yeah, I'll go in.
And if you've got a question, just go ahead and ask her.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. What, you know, where is Cindy? You know, where's Cindy going to? You know, what do you want? You're going to get that, market that product out onto into the world, right? So I will, give me your details, Cindy, and I will. There's no more members now. They're launching the company, so they're setting us up with websites, and those apps are on the websites. And when the companies use us, It'll be cheaper for the companies to use those apps rather than what they're using right now. And when the money comes in, it's going to go into our wallet, and then we can do what we want with it. And Ash says, see to yourself first. And then he said, you've got to turn around and help others. He's got homeless programs going on. There was talk of trying to get rid of child slavery. So if you give me the details, Cindy, I will go into what we call the back office of the building of the company.
Yeah.
And I will email them, and they will get in touch with Ash, the founder.
Okay.
And see where
Carol.
you go from there.
Yeah, I put my email out there for everyone. So whoever
Okay.
wants to contact me on my email, they're welcome to.
All right.
Okay.
And I know that we've got our own data center now. We're that big. When we launch, we'll be a unicorn company worth 1 billion.
Uh-huh.
All right. And he was marketing in Dubai. If you go on YouTube, you can see, I can send you that as well.
Yeah, I've been
Done
to
a
Dubai,
marketing campaign.
Abu Dhabi, and then actually the Prime Minister of Qatar was interested in SEPs, and they were going to give us whatever we needed, but my software partner Pranam wouldn't do it.
Okay.
So,
'Cause,
but I know the possibilities are there now. So
yeah, because Ash has got a lab, and he's got these young people where corporations won't go for it, but he's brought them on, and they're coming up with inventions.
okay,
All right. So yeah, I'll do that for you, Cindy.
great. I can't hear from you.
Okay,
Thank
you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Carol, what a beautiful gift to the heart. Thank you so much.
I just hope and pray that it helps. Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Carol, do you want to put your contact information also?
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right. Honey. Thank you.
Thanks,
Good to see
Cindy.
you.
Thank you, Sheila.
All right. Well, there you go. That's some inspiration. Okay,
Yeah,
Venus.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Venus. You're on mute.
Oh, I don't think he can hear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Venus, can you come off of mute?
There you go. Nope.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, sorry for the delay.
That's okay.
Wow, a lot of the stuff you said kind of hit home with me a lot. I'm very impressed by what you have to say about a lot of things. I myself, I've had surgeries where surgeon messed up and I had to have 3 corrective surgeries because of it. Also, I've had some contact. I had that contact experience. I know for sure in the desert in 29 Palms back in the 70s, I spoke to Sheila about it once on this program, and I texted Miss Rebecca about it before last year, I think it was. So I have some understanding of that. And I've experienced some degree of higher consciousness and clairvoyance. And I had read about Dr. Christine Northrup's idea that there was these nanoparticles in the vaccine, like you suggested earlier. And I never wanted to take the vaccine, but this area, San Francisco and United States per se, seemed to be so bent on if we didn't take the vaccine, we wouldn't be able to do anything, wouldn't be able to go to college, get on planes or go to doctor's offices. The only reason I took it was because of that. And 30 days later, I got Bell's palsy, It was, but I've been to a few psychic healers since then, which helped me do visualization exercises and clear light meditations and many prayers, and I think most of it's gone. Like I can smile again pretty evenly, and my eyes are a lot better again. I'm amazed that you have the guts to speak publicly about this nanoparticles, because so many people seem to be scared to death to speak the truth about this, and then Dr. Mike Sala and this Alana Dannon, and even this Patricia Corsi, I think, or Corey, or I think your name is.
Right.
A lot of these people, they speak openly about it too. But the thing that the most scariest part of this all is what you're all saying without saying it is the governments of the world, including the United States, took part in almost like an attempt of mass genocide, worse than Hitler. Worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
And they're all acting like they're doing us a favor when they're killing it. They're trying to kill us all off. Well, only 1% of them lives and survives. But the great thing about it is there is a lot of benevolent higher beings out there, and they're helping a lot of us get well, and a lot of us get together and fight these dark forces and win. Like what you're saying about, it sounds to me like you were implying that somebody stole part of your invention to help mankind.
Yeah.
And that sounds likely to me. I mean, right when you said that, in my heart and soul, it felt like the gears kind of fell right into place. Like that was exactly what was happening. I wonder, you sound like you were trying to create some type of treatment, or where a lot of people that have had the vaccine might be able to reverse the effects of the nanoparticles. Is that correct, that you're working on something like that?
Yes. So I've got most of it developed. So I knew from a long time ago, I didn't finish my double doctorate in alternative medicine. And so, but just so you know, I've always been involved and certified in that. And so I did, for 11 years, I did studies with swimming with dolphins. And I collected data because I recognized that when you're with the dolphins, their sonar has the ability. So their sonar is a frequency. And it's able to penetrate your body and your cells right down to the RNA. Okay. So if you take that sonar ability or that experience to try and beef up your immune system. So we were doing that with autistic kids and underdeveloped people. And we were having really good success with the swimming with the dolphins. So they were able to communicate better for as much as 3 weeks after that experience. So even back then, I was trying to develop like a simulated, so you could trick your brain that you're swimming with the dolphins, because of course the environmentalists have to come in there and, mess everything up. You're not allowed to swim with the dolphins, right?
Right.
And so, but I have all the knowledge there and the experience. So, even Venus, even if you like use your computer or iPad, whatever you have, there's many dolphin and whale type sounds out there. So do like a meditation, like slow, small relaxation with that in the background. And then also use like the 430 to 475 megahertz range of frequencies. And that should help you feel better, and it'll boost your immune system much better so that you can fight off the effects of the Bell's palsy.
Okay, what were you calling megahertz? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, megahertz. So you'll see it like they have Tesla at 369. The Earth
Is there any
is
specific like dolphin DVDs or CDs I could
just go with anything that is free. You don't have to spend money to do it. It's
Okay.
there. Yep, your brain will recognize that sound. And then when you're relaxing, try to visualize. It seems like, you know, you've got a long history of being able to do relaxation techniques. So visualize swimming with those dolphins.
all right.
So that you can trick your brain so that it soaks up that sonar ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Griscom used to write in her books, in her early books in the 80s, that they perceive reality holographically.
Yeah.
And they're like them and the whales are like more intelligent than we are.
Yep. Yep. I tried early on. I mean, I tried doing the virtual reality as part of my simulated dolphin, but I couldn't get it developed like without handing over 100% my invention to like Philips and their R&D and Sony R&D, and I wouldn't do it. So whatever, it might be time again to include that, because I'm working on the frequency vibrational tones that are needed to knock out that nanoparticle.
I appreciate your help, and I pray for you and all your people to overcome all the darkness and all this nonsense. And everybody else there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I need a hematologist out there to figure out if we can get rid of those nanoparticles through molecular, you know, evacuation like we normally do with bad cells in our body. So far, I haven't been able to find any clinicals with that. So
one thing we do know, the spirit's a whole lot more powerful than artificial intelligence. Rebecca knows that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your comments, Venus.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy, this has been absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
It's really awesome. I've got some information that I'll send to you also.
Okay, great.
So I'll have to get your email again. Well, I've got your email.
Yeah,
So
it's under
I'll
the app thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So wonderful. So Rebecca, final comments.
Amazing people. I started this group coaching. I just got a download, time to do group coaching, see what happens. And I thought I would get a lot of first time experiencers. And I got the opposite. I got people like Cindy that have been, you know, childhood experiencers, people that experienced before birth. And then find out that, you know, like Cindy, of course, I've known about Cindy's invention for a long time and been a friend with her through all that. But just to grow this supportive community where Cindy can feel nurtured and loved and that she can move forward, because that's really what exoconscious humans are all about. We have to come up with the antidotes. We have to come up with the inventions, the innovations, the new ideas. That's our responsibility. That's why we're here for many of us. Not all of us, but for many of us, that's why we're here. And that's what this community is all about.
Beautiful. Well, great work. I can't wait to see what unfolds during the month. So just a quick little commercial. If you're not already signed up on our mailing list, please do so by going to wishalliance.org and just signing up under our contact, because that way you will get all of the emails about the upcoming speakers. And you can also go to our website at wishalliance.org, and you'll be able to see who's going to be coming up. And so we have a beautiful month planned. Cindy, thank you so much for helping to kick it off. It was very interesting, fascinating, and I think everybody really enjoyed it. And we all wish you the best of luck. with
Thank
your
you very much,
venture.
everyone. Thank you, Sheila.
Beautiful.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And Rebecca, thank you so much for being my co-host this
Yeah.
month.
I'll see you next
Woohoo!
week with more experiencers from the group coaching.
All
All
right.
week.
Well, I
Yeah.
can't
All
wait.
month.
I can't wait. So I'm going to bring everybody up like we do every week. And I want to thank you for sticking in with us throughout the entire program, for showing up week after week. Very, very grateful to you. Hey, Janelle. Didn't see you there. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for your comments and for all of the chats. Thank you for the emails and the texts that you send. I really appreciate it. They mean a lot to me. So until we are together again next week, namaste and have a blessed week. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Be good.
Bye-bye. Good night.
All right.
Love you, Kevin Briggs.